Sure.
It helps when I'm looking at myself for you to answer. Now I'm frozen. Oh, but see?
Yeah.
Can you see I'm frozen?
Yeah, we're frozen.
That's
We're
gonna make me crazy. If I look over you, can you see how frozen I am? See, your internet is sucky right now. If you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. It's glitchy. Glitchy. But we'll roll with it and smile.
I won't be able to because I'm going to keep looking at myself freezing and it's going to make me really distracted.
Yeah, well, we'll try to keep your interest engaged.
What would you think of my sunglasses?
I like them. Dude, your sunglasses are number 14 on the Grifties.
Oh my God. Seriously?
Yeah. Talk about like running a good grift.
Right?
You are number 14. I was like, damn, go Rita.
How did I get to be number 14? People must have saw it. So people must have saw it because I thought it was funny. So of course, and I want to, support the group.
But that is how you grift.
That's how you grift, right?
Just bring in those sunglasses.
Right. Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any way you could make me look like 20 years younger without the waddle?
Well,
I'm trying to celebrate, getting older, but
do some deep fakes. I'm getting there too. I just turned 40.
Yeah. When was your birthday?
The 5th
of
March.
Why didn't you tell us?
I don't tell people about my birthday until right after it. Like, it makes me uncomfortable for some reason.
Does it?
Yeah. I've never really enjoyed my birthday. And so I just kind of ignore it and then go on.
Totally understand.
But it's not like, but it was cool. My mom was kind of joking around. She was like, maybe 40 is going to be your year.
Thanks, Mom.
She was like, things didn't start working out for me and your dad until we were in our 40s. So, does your mom have a sense of humor? Yeah, my mom is very silly.
Good.
Silly
is good.
Like really silly, very naive. I tortured her when I was a kid.
I can't even imagine. But I can because I have a family member who's incredibly religious, but the real religious, like to the core, nicest person, salt of the earth, and she's not somebody who tries to save everybody. She just lives in her faith.
Right.
Doesn't judge. She just avoids things that she thinks that are inappropriate for her family. But there's no question that she's very committed to her faith. But
that's my mom.
I go through, you meet people and you're like, there's no way. They have to have a dark moment. But she's somebody who I've known forever to go, she when she has a dark moment, her faith helps her more than anything. Yeah. And so, but in terms of some people are making fun of her about it or always joking. And then she has that naivete and she's like, I just don't get that, because it's like not watching TV. You stop to get I don't want to talk about it now because we can talk about it when we're on. Let's go.
Oh, we're on. We've been going.
Are we going?
Yeah, it's been good. This is gold.
Okay. Rule number 1, Ryan.
I told you we were going.
No, you said, no, you didn't. You didn't. You said we're about to go and we're going to record. You did not you did not give me the thing. We didn't even introduce. We just started talking. So, okay. So number 2, that was leading me to, and I will segue right in because I'm a professional, segue right into the fact that I haven't watched TV in 6 months. And so
I don't blame you. I don't really watch.
But here's the thing though, is what's amazing now is there's a lot of things amazing about it. But if you don't watch TV for a month, when you go back to it, it's the same thing it was a month ago.
Yeah.
And you start looking at that kind of content as just this energy to kind of suck you in, just like, I guess like we're doing, trying to keep people watching longer, right?
Exactly.
Because that's what content is. It's for advertising.
And keep you coming back.
Right. Keep you coming back. But the thing is that is trippy is to look and go, there was things that I was like, oh, I've got to see this show every single week. I've got to hear this commentary all the time. And I'm like, because everything about last September, October started to gel, because it felt to me there's these huge messages about, of course, the virus, about everything was so political, and it was in everything. You couldn't buy diapers without the company wanting to take a stand on something, and there's a lot of issues that need to be rectified in the country, but no matter where you looked, it was the same message over and over. But the amazing part is taking that break and looking at it, and then realizing how much that energy is a part of your everyday life, but not doing it. I find myself so much more creative and searching for things that interest me before, reading about unusual things and talking. And so I think a lot of that turning off kind of the external noise that seems to always be going helped to not just my creative, but then just open it up to the Jianchor project and the blog, and then bringing in other voices, because that's really, it's amazing. And that was my gut instinct, or just basically my instinct, that there were so many talented people who don't have a voice, and we don't hear their voices, and we don't see their talent. And this is such a great platform. And then that led me to think, and this is what I'm trying to write about, and I'm going to ask people to start writing about, is if you had a platform where your voice or your message could be so loud, that's what everyone hears, it permeates through businesses, permeates through our lives, into our schools, into our advertising, into what even people have YouTube channels that talk about the message that people are saying. So it's just this constant flow of the same topic being talked about in 20 different ways. But I always think, if you had the chance for the entire world to hear what you wanted to say, just one thing in your lifetime, what would you talk about? What would you talk about? What would you say? Would it be about your family? Would it be about music? Would it be about writing? Would it be about hopes and dreams? So I think that's a really interesting thing to ponder. And that's when
I don't know if I would want the whole world. Maybe just a good portion of it.
What do you think you're going to say, though?
Oh, I have no idea. Probably something stupid. No, that's a good question. I was immediately, I was like, I mean, I want to be known, but I don't want to be that known.
Well, you don't have to say something that, you're pontificating some thought. It would just be, if you had a message, say, this is something I think is important for the world to know.
Be nice.
Would it be a crusade? Would it be a cause? Would it be activism? Would it be that you miss your mother who passed away? Would it be your faith? Would it be something positive, or would it be something negative? And I think that's kind of how this unravels for me when I think about it, is so much tension is created by outside noises, media, movies, TV, things that are trying to draw our attention and keep that agitation going. because that's just how our brains work very quickly. And so what happens when you're not agitated? Do you chill out a little bit? Or maybe that's just the hippie Californian in me.
Yeah. I don't know. I try to always stay pretty chilled out. I don't like getting angry or mad. Like the thing that makes me madder than anything is getting mad.
Yeah.
So I try to stay pretty even keeled. I really try to keep an even temperament. And for me, like that's been a lot of work. Because
Yeah.
I do have a temper. And you know, and so just kind of controlling, the beast inside or whatever
Sure.
philosophical uh thing. And so learning to, to not overreact at first or to kind of hold your thoughts for a minute
Hmm.
has really led me to a place of a lot of meditation, a lot of exercise. I oftentimes will try to physically exhaust my body,
Hmm.
do something difficult, you know, try things and actually accomplish something, like just finish something, no matter how big or small, um, like kind of helps. Meditation, practice, uh, just, yeah, that has really led me on, to try to, I guess, that hippy dippy thing.
Right.
Like, who wants to be mad all the time? That's actually one of the things I actually turned off. Most TV and news and media several years ago. Like for the most part, there is some stuff I'll check in on now and then. Like I have a few
Hmm.
guilty pleasures. Like
Sure.
I don't hate the CW superhero shows.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and so like I will check in on those, but for the most part, I stay away from everything. I don't even really like being on social media unless I'm trying to promote something, because I just feel like everybody wants to be angry all the time, and everybody
See,
just tries to find a reason to be angry, and I'm like, why do you want to be mad? Like, why are you
and
trying to be
and
mad?
and that's the weird thing. And then I try to follow. Um, Jonathan Haidt wrote a really amazing book called I want to. Oh my gosh, The Coddling of the American Mind.
Okay, I've heard of that.
Right. And
Yeah,
so
I
it's
haven't
just
read it, but I'm familiar.
trying to explain why we seem to have a burst of young people in the last 10 years who need a safer place, who on college campuses are. And but then he takes it to all these really deep levels of going back into the late 80s, early 90s, when we stopped playing outside, when children stopped playing outside because the world was a dangerous place. And when 24/7 hour news, and then we'd hear about um, child abductions, child murders, and then all over the news. And so there's this weird thing from Gen X down to the millennials. Millennials spent their whole life very um, helicoptered parents, and didn't run free because nowadays, if you saw a child 7 8 year old riding his bike down the street alone, you'd be alarmed because it's just not part of it. But as opposed to when I grew up, there were kids everywhere. So my what's interesting is this angst, this energy, this pressure. I almost wonder if it has something to do with it's a natural cycle, because those are things those social cues you get with learning how to like cope in the world with your peers when you're 5, when you're 10, when you're 15. The angst you go through in school with your girlfriend, telling a boy that you like him and you're horrified, and you're mortified. Just all those things that you go through, that it seems like in the last 20 years, kids can't go through anything painful
Right.
because we're so regulated. And then all of a sudden they get to college and it's a big world.
I mean, when I was
And
a little kid, everybody was mean to each other.
everybody's mean to each other. And
Like
it's
we were
not
all
right.
always clowning on each other for, I
Right.
mean, anything that stood out, we would just
Right.
be on it. And
so it's like granting that to say, because sometimes it would be because they are truly expressing themselves. They truly believe what they're expressing. And for, sometimes it seems like that doesn't make sense. You are you're on a campus that's very safe, but they start to see danger around them because they've been coddled. Not everybody, but they could have been coddled through their whole life because our generation perceived the world was a dangerous place. So you have to have play dates. You've got to, trust the parents who, no more staying overnight, no more, getting in trouble. You can't get in trouble and you can't take risks. And then I just feel like it's all of this energy that would have been burned off if you had to walk to school, if you had to just solve different things. And I'm not, and so there's just an interesting look. And yet these young people who grew up to be in the media, and they grew up to be actors and actresses and musicians, and they grew up to be politicians. And so it's a different look at now. They get a platform and they get to say what they want to say. And so I just, that's one thing I listen for. And then sometimes I have to shut it off because I think in my world, some of the things, there's some actors, actresses, musicians that I've thought heard amazing. And yet it's hard for me to look away because you imagine who they are based on their talent and what their craft feels like. Because you think that's such a great actor. And I bet they would be great to have dinner with and visit with. And, oh, that author's amazing. You can have an attachment because your imagination fills in what you perceive of them or what their publicist, portrays of them. But what I think I've seen people who I just admired tremendously say the most hideous things on social media.
Yeah.
Horrendous
There's been some
things.
People
Right.
I'm like, man, I really like what you do, but I just wish you'd stop talking.
Right. Because you know what? It's a weird thing is that, okay, we get it. You don't like somebody, but then this constant barrage of, and it's not a criticism. It is, I don't even know what to call it.
I think it's a lack of creativity.
Well, that's part of it. And also it's just
like they can't think of anything else to talk about. They run out of ideas, recycle things, so they don't have a fresh take on anything. And so they're just rehashing the things like that's hitting the buzzwords.
Right. And so that's especially some of the authors that I used to really admire. I think it also takes all debate out the window and it diminishes the intellect because we'll just call people names. Speaking of calling people names, I've gotten my first few bad reviews.
Oh no.
Yes.
Oh no.
I know. You want me to tell you a funny story?
Yeah, of course. I love funny stories.
So in my previous life of work, I managed a whole team of people and different levels of managers and sales people and stuff. And so when you work for a company, especially a big company, you've got to be super cognizant of the human relations department. So you have to be very careful about what you say, how you joke, who you are. And after a while, you just start to be super, hello, how are you? You don't say you look nice today. That could offend someone. I mean, and it's not that anybody I met ever, if I felt like they'd be offended, you just don't know. Sometimes you have to walk on eggshells. You just don't know how they could react. So my persona at work was pretty straight. Like, you go to company functions and so everybody's going out afterwards. We went to Nashville. Everyone's going out doing karaoke, getting drunk at night. I'm like, oh no, I'm going back to the hotel. I'll see you. And I got this reputation of like, she's not fun. She doesn't have a sense of humor. And I was like, fine with that. So I thought, and I'm not going to the HR department. And, because everybody decides to get drunk on company time, not going to be me. So because I always did the risk reward. Too big of a risk because losing your job is not good. Because when a ton of people are drinking, nothing good happens when they're 2,000 miles away from home.
No.
And nothing good happens.
That's why I don't really drink that much anymore.
Yeah.
Like
So
hardly ever. I did a lot in my 20s. That's why I don't now, because
you learn.
You learn how embarrassing of a person you are.
Well, so yes, that is a tough lesson, and you're right. That's what I always think. It's like
it's a hard lesson to be like, ugh, Jesus, that's what I'm like.
Yeah, right.
I need to change.
Right. No, friend said to me, it's weird. We don't really hang around those people when we were, 18 to 22. I said, because we were morons. I mean, we were idiots. I said, if we hang out with them, what are we going to say? It's like, remember when we did the, most risky things of our lives together? No, we're not.
Right.
But good, that was the, rite of passage, coming of age time when you're free and you just act like an idiot because you're free. And
I don't feel like kids these days are gonna get that.
See, now you sound like you're old. But so let me tell you, most of us always have a friend who is kind of, you want to call not a close friend, but always the friend that says, who's going to tell you that somebody's talking bad about you.
Okay.
And so this friend called and said, have you seen what they're writing about you on Facebook? I said, no, I'm not on Facebook. Oh my God. I said, honestly, I'm not on Facebook. I would not know had you not been talking to me right now. It's like, I don't need to know. Well, this just goes in his. So I'm listening, and that what reminded me of the intellect is that it has nothing to do with the substance. It's just that I, of course, watching, somebody got like my name, because my name's all over everything. And then the Jianchor, someone watched it. And then of course, everybody's passing it around to go, oh my Lord, who is that woman? Because what they know of me is not who they see now. Right. Even though that's who I've always been. But the laughing and joking.
So they're watching Jianchor and they're like, wait, what?
Who the hell is that? Excuse my language. But it's so funny because I'm listening and she's like, I just want to let you know, do you have any comments? I said, what is this? The New York Times? I said, it's like, you want me to comment on a bunch of people who I haven't seen in 2 years.
Right.
You want to comment on them, dunking on me. She's like, well, let me tell you what she was dying to tell me what they said. But it had, like I said, nothing to do with substance, only to do with, she talks too much. She talks too loud. She laughs too loud. She's too mean to Chad. I mean, somebody even brought up mean to Chad. I'm thinking there's a plant in that room, but it's really funny because it's like that it's that weird part. And I shouldn't say it lacks intellect, but well, what does that do? What does that, not to me, but maybe me 20 years ago, that I'd be devastated. Now I'm like, okay, I laughed too loud. Oh, I talked too loud. Okay, well, I'm goofy. All right, but it's funny that two things. One, there's always that person who's willing to come and report to you.
That
and even like our laugh was like, hey, I'm not on Facebook. I don't have a Facebook account. I would never know this existed. And then that kind of sparked that whole thing of going, wait, if you start shutting things down, does it exist? Right. I mean, like, because a lot of times we react to what someone perceives of us. And then I just started thinking, hey, I didn't know that existed. And if because halfway through the conversation, I said, I'm not going to respond. Wish them the best. I'm glad they're watching it. It helps our subscriber rate.
Right. I said, and the comments are like good for engagement. Like even bad comments like proves that they're leaving engagement. So that's kind of, I mean, unless somebody's being like just straight up hateful, then
they weren't
they're just being petty. They're being petty.
But that's the kind of thing. So if somebody said, hey, I want to help you out, you should, because my thing, what I would do to someone, I'd say, you seem to be nervous. Don't worry so much. No one's going to remember it later. As long as you're doing something kind and, whatever you're doing, as long as it's not. But that's kind of, just take it to the level of social media. And between the TV and then Brian had talked about the Twitter ratio. He taught us that in our sales class.
I love that. That's never going to get answered.
You're never going to get answered, but
I love it.
Got one.
I love it. It's,
yes, right. So, but that is because he has mentioned it before. And that question, it was a real question that came up. So somebody heard about the concept, but not that they weren't the Mogul Summit to get the answer. So he told it. So he was, I know, because he just links up to your page and he'll say in the Mogul Summit to say, oh, Rita, this is why your follower count is this. And one day he said, you're following way more people than there are following you. And you should cut that down. So that's what I did. So I went down, so instead of having like 200 people I followed to my 15,
right. I cut quite a few out, like, because I was just following people to follow people, like, oh, they're
right.
Neat. And then,
but what happens is, I don't have all that negativity anymore in my feed. And now it's kind of a game going, okay, I got 2 more followers. I can get 1 more person,
And most of the people that I unfollowed, I still see their posts anyway. It still comes through from other people that I still follow. And so I was just like, oh, I ain't missing anything. I still need to purge a lot more, but I'm kind of hovering way above being optimistic that I will one day catch up to how many people I'm following.
My whole point is, even if it's 10 minutes a day, 10 less minutes of TV, 10 less minutes of social media, it can open your creativity to something else. And I'll go right into my Jianchor.com blog spiel.
It's which is, speaking of Twitter and everything, all of those things are listed on the screen.
Oh, right on the screen. Yes.
So
and that's my sales pitch. But the main reason and why we're talking and showcasing, we've got Jianchor all over, is we're collecting and just trying to nurture all of these really talented people who have incredible skill and who are writing about things that make you think and make you go, that's really interesting. And we have 4 different perspectives, but people are going outside those lines, which it's amazing to me that they're thinking, hey, maybe we can put them under the category, but it's just getting more and more creative. And so it's just a really great opportunity for people who come to the blog to say, oh, I'm not going to get, anger. There are people who write stuff that you just go, hey, that's really not cool, because that's a real thing happening. But it's not going to be this back and forth. It's all with kindness, and you can see people have researched and they're very thorough about what they write. And it's some a point of view, some's a life experience. So I think that's really important to, even if you can spend 10 minutes, and it's not just our blog, but it's just 10 minutes reading a chapter of a book, just something that can pull you away, because quieting your mind to things that aren't so aggressive, I guess that would be the energy,
right?
Aggressive and addictive. Because I will tell you, there were days, and someone said once, the first thing I do is I don't check my social media in the morning. I'm like, dang, I used to be like that. Grab coffee, open Twitter, right?
I do it while I'm going to the bathroom.
Okay.
That's when I check. I just scroll through, and then that's all the attention it gets, which is like 5 minutes in the morning. And then I don't actually look at social media until night, usually, because I just don't have time.
Right.
Especially actually, no, I really don't. I mean, sometimes I get on during the day, like if there's something I'm trying to promote or trying to bring attention to, I'll jump on sometimes, but normally
you don't get lost in it.
No, I've never really liked it, too much, to be completely honest. Because when Facebook first came around, I was around the time I was sort of phasing out of being an active musical performer.
Right.
And so before that, like MySpace was there, and you had to be doing something to have a social media account.
Right.
You know, you had to be an artist, an actor, a musician.
Right.
And so when Facebook came around, I was like, this is just people. And I'm like, I'm like, they're really putting their stuff out there like that? like I mean, I want people to know what I'm doing when I'm making something or playing a show, but like I don't want people to know what I'm doing. Like I don't, I want there to be some line, between like what goes out for the entire world.
Right.
And like, 'cause there's subtlety to being in person and having real conversations and things like that, which is why I kind of like where technology is going with the internet, and why I'm kind of a fan of YouTube, is because it is more of an in-depth conversation. Like it's not just like pictures and profiles. It's real, conversations and personality coming through, because sometimes it's hard to tell, like even on a Facebook page through memes and stuff, what somebody or something's really like until you see them say a sentence in real time, and then be like, oh, okay. And so that kind of where I just don't understand why regular people are just like, yo, this is everything I'm doing. Isn't this awesome? All of the time.
See, I had that.
No. Hold back.
I had that same kind of thing with Facebook. For work, we had to promote our positions. So do LinkedIn count, and you had to Facebook, because really what it wasn't promoting the company. It was looking for people to work for you. So you'd have the account to say, always looking for somebody, and you'd post it every few days. So keep it helped with recruiting costs. Or if you see somebody, say, check out my Facebook page. But I'm just not good at it. I'm not that interested, because I won't sit for hours and hours and reading everyone's posts. But the first time I saw it, someone's like, oh, they're just posting their dinner. Okay. It wasn't a foodies thing. It was like, oh, okay, I'm following somebody. And then because you don't know someone's personality until they start posting. And I didn't understand it, that if you follow somebody, their posts will show up on your posts, or they could. And then people know, it's like, oh, you tell somebody. I would just on the phone tell someone I'm going somewhere, and then they're posting. It's like, have fun in Arizona. I'm like, oh, I don't want the world to know. Why don't you tell them what hotel I'm staying at, now to murder me while I'm there? That's what I said. It's like,
do you want my sleep schedule too?
Yeah, right. It's like, why don't I give you the last part of my social? But that's that weird thing of opening people up. It's like it's cool, but see, now I wonder how the pendulum is going to swing back, because it's so overdone now. And like you said, there is that authenticity, because nothing seems real now. Everybody says the same thing. Nothing seems real except you get on like CNS.
I think it's going to end up ultimately being good for the true creatives, because the true creative people, the like people that are really creative and talented, are going to be able to stand out now. Right. Because people are proving that they're tired of network television. They're only sort of on board with the streaming services and things like that, but everybody loves podcasts, and
well,
like
that too. And then just like we're having a conversation without weaving in the latest thing that's happening or opinion of stuff, because that's what, again, you watch a show that they're bringing this show back from, say, pretend the 2010s. That's what's so funny. It's like they wouldn't bring an 80s show.
I know.
From the 2010s, you're like, oh, that's really cool. But now there's a lesson. Now we're going to teach you a moral lesson. It's like, Well, before it was debauchery, but that's what was fun about it. But now everything's lessened. So I'm thinking, okay, so like Hollywood just turned into um um a moral place, which just seems so hysterical to me.
It's oh
Because
man,
Hollywood is kind of the home of debauchery. So
yeah, and it's like the vibe here is the same vibe I get from like the Bible Belt, which is why I don't like living out in the Bible Belt.
right.
And I'm getting that vibe here, but from the other end of the pendulum, and
Right.
it's man, it's not really fun. It's not as fun anymore.
It's really funny. I know it exists, and I know there are people who, and I'm honestly being very diplomatic, is they are true to their convictions. They believe, and there's something that's happened in our social fabric that instead of saying, "Excuse me, I'd like to talk to you about wearing a mask," or "I'm afraid that you're not wearing a mask," or "I'm bothered that you are wearing a mask," because that's how, in my world, normal people would say, "Geez, I'm telling you, it's, whatever stance you are, that person is really afraid because you don't have one on, and that person is aggrieved because you do have one on. So can we just talk it out or go away?" But that's not how people talk on. Now, I will say, are they doing it for the camera sometimes? Because I've been in stores where they walk in and the manager is very kind to someone to say, "I'm so sorry, we're really held by the health standards, and I know how you feel, but I really have to tell you." And then 9 times out of 10, someone will put the mask on, or they'll just go, "Okay, I got it." And they'll go somewhere else. Instead of it being this big, huge moral thing. And I've seen it. I know there are people that are true to their convictions and they're upset both ways, but that's always seemed to be seen in terms of what's around us. And so having, and I've seen that's what I really am more I follow more videos on YouTube and live things on YouTube with people just having a cogent conversation about it, is to say, people like, "I'm totally anti-mask, and I think it's too slippery a slope for the government to tell us what to do." And then someone says, "I'm terrified of the virus, and this is why I'm wearing it." And most people rational will say, "I totally understand your fear, and I respect that, but for me, I'm going a different way." Yeah. Is that crazy talk?
No, I don't, man,
right.
it's not that difficult. Like, most people have no problems with wearing masks inside of stores or buildings.
Right.
It's, and if somebody's outside, just let it go. You're outside. Like, as long as they're wearing a mask in the building, or if it's like a really crowded outdoor area.
Right.
Like, but yeah, if somebody's like freaking out over it, just let them not wear it and go away if you're outside.
Right.
And
well, it happened. I went to the ATM, people stand in line, a guy walked up without a mask, and he's just standing there, everyone's looking at him. Nobody screamed, nobody yelled, he stayed, everybody's a distance. I'm like, all right. But I see now, my perception is that's probably 90%. And the rest of it are people who need to be the star of their own show. And some of those people want to, show their passion and their conviction. And they're doing it in I would say a very passionate way, which is their prerogative. They can do whatever. But that to me isn't something I want to see 300,000 times a day on a 20-second YouTube post.
I mean, not to bring it back to something I said earlier, but sometimes I just feel like people just want to be mad about something, no matter what it is.
Right.
And they're like, "Oh, great, I can be mad about this."
Right.
And I'm just like,
no,
"Why do you
so
want to be mad? Don't be mad."
Because I think it's like, I'm like, and so I was like, "Oh,
who
yeah,
likes
like
being mad?
Doesn't that upset you?" It's like, not really. I'll just take it as, that's just the way somebody feels. Well, you should be, outraged. It's like, nope, that's not going to raise me to outrage, but I get it. It's a criticism. I get it. well, now I'm mad at you because you're not even reacting right. Because sometimes that
Right.
I get that reputation
When
of,
you don't get the reaction that they
oh my God,
want.
she's totally aloof. She's heartless. She has no feeling. It's like, I'm just, you know what? Because think, and this is another conversation. But before I say that, we were gonna have a signal that's for timing because you and I could talk for hours.
Oh yeah, we're still
here's the
good.
signal. How are we on time?
We're good. It's at 40 minutes.
Okay. Oh,
So we've still got.
that's really good. That was 20 minutes before. Look at me.
Yeah, you're on it.
Thank you. So like I've done this before, right?
I know. We're professionals.
We're professionals now. We've got the
way.
R&R. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Let's give the people what they want.
Yeah. R&R.
Except next time I promise people my hair will look better. You have no idea. See,
it's fabulous.
Oh, you're so sweet. Well, I tell this is a funny thing, and this is a woman thing, I'm sure. Someone had said, "Oh, your highlights look great." So my highlights. Oh yeah, I saw the show highlights. I said, I don't have highlights. I said, that's great. That's shining up on my hair. She's like, I get the. I don't know.
Oh, I didn't.
I have a Cruella
I thought it was
DeVille.
just light. I have
a Cruella. Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
I have a Cruella DeVille coming in right here. Oh wait, yes, it's coming in like a stripe.
I see it now.
Yep. Got a little bit up here. So I'm deciding. I don't think, especially, this is my hair color.
That's cool.
Why bother, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is that my mother's hair was like every other hair. So she always dyed it and covered up the gray. And I thought, well, maybe that'd be, but if you got a stripe coming in, come on.
Gotta
work it.
I'm actually very gray. But
you are?
But I'm blonde.
Got blonde, yeah.
And so you don't notice it. Like it's crazy. Like I sometimes forget that I'm probably third to half gray almost.
Now does your gray hair grow in really wiry, or is it just regular?
It's just regular.
Yeah. Women, they used to call them, a friend of mine used to call them like antenna wires.
Oh, okay, yeah,
because they go in every direction. They like you look and you see these hairs sticking up. You think, oh, poor Rita didn't hairspray her hair. It's like, no, that's just the grace. They got a life of their own.
Yeah, I don't mind gray. The thing that gets me is like, because I'm going bald.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what. But
do you think you'll be bald, really bald? Because if you're 40.
I use the like not Rogaine but Rogaine type stuff.
Does that help?
Yeah. It's because I started going bald in my 20s, and
then you are doing good.
Yeah, and so I've kept this. I wasn't intending to look like this. Quarantine just happened, and I just stopped.
Because your hair's usually short.
My hair. Yeah, and I kind of the way I'm kind of looking at it right now is I missed having long hair, and I'm gonna let it go a little bit before I never get to grow my hair out again.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
because I would imagine. I can't imagine. I had majority of my friends are male.
Your hair looks thick, like so.
And secret newsflash, it's not that thick, but I have a lot of it.
Okay.
So, but I'm giving all the secrets away.
Right.
But yes, I am lucky on that front. But as a woman, you're never happy with your hair. That's just kind of how it goes. And especially with, excuse me, the shelter in place, you also get used to having your hair back in a ponytail.
Right.
So that's the transition. But let's go back to the baldness, because I had in my formative years, which I say, 17 to 22, I still hung out with my buddies from 12 to 14. We all grew up, and then we'd get together, when we were of drinking age.
Yeah.
But I remember this night, probably 20, and we were in a club, because in those days, if you were tall, they
You
didn't look at
could,
your license. You could,
right.
you didn't get carded.
And you are tall.
I am tall.
You
So
are you're an inch taller than me. I was like, man, because I'm 5'10".
yeah, and I'm close because maybe because of my age, but I measure myself, but it's more like 5'10 3/4". So I might not be a full 5'11", but I'm pretty close. And if I have
Right.
heels on, pumps on, I'm a hard 5'11".
Right.
But and you don't, and that to me, it's when you're that, and it's not an unusually tall, but if you're 5'1".
Right.
And then if, like I said, if you saw the family pictures growing up, because I was this tall when I was 12, but all the
Oh,
family
really?
photos, yeah, all the little
Oh,
munchkins
wow.
around me, I was always in the middle, always the tallest. It was just
That's
funny.
awesome.
I know. And I'm telling you, my mother, who she had a great sense of humor, but my two oldest sisters, because they were all blonde hair, blue eyed, all my 4 siblings, but my 2 oldest sisters convinced me I was adopted because I didn't look like anybody. So I went to my mother at 8 and said, Patty and Carol said I'm adopted. And mom's like, oh yeah, we wouldn't have chosen you. We would have only, we only like blonde hair, blue eyed babies.
Oh.
I remember that. I would, as I grew up, I told my mother, I said, you told me that. And she's like, yeah, I know. She said, I thought it was funny. She goes, because it is. I mean, looking back, but think of being an 8-year-old. Sincerely, am I adopted? It's like, no, we wouldn't have chosen you because you're not blonde hair, blue eyed. We just got stuck with you. I'm like, yeah, my mother. But that I got a little bit of my sense of humor from her.
That's
but going
hilarious.
back to your baldness, so we're at the club, and everybody's dancing and drinking and having a good time, but all 3 guys are looking for girls because that's what you do. And we're sitting around, and there's high tables, and the guys are kind of winking at the girls the pretty girls across the way, and we're all going like, hey, that girl really likes you, Steve, that girl over there. And he's like, hey, and because he's really good looking, and they're giggling back and forth for like an hour. That whole young person eye contact, like, oh, my friend likes you. She finally walks by and pretends she's going to the bar or to the bathroom or whichever. She walks by and he's like, hey, what's your name? And she gets up like within 2 feet and she looks at him, and he was already starting to have receding hairline and a little bald spot. She looks at him in a very cruel way, and she's like, I don't date bald dudes. Like all that sweetness and lovey and dovey and the flirting back and forth. And the minute when she got close to him, she's like, I don't date bald dudes. And I was so, because all she had to say was, not really interested, thanks.
Right.
But afterwards, my friend was like, dude, that's like really cool. She just walked off. And I can't forget that because, it took a long time for baldness to be cultivated, for men who lost most of their hair and then they just shaved their head completely. But you got to be able to have the look and, but it's just like people, just something you can't control. You cannot control if you're going to lose your hair. But do you remember, did it put extra pressure on you in terms of like your hair? Because like I said, women, our hair, it means something. It's a signal, like first impression. Did you worry about it when you started losing your hair?
Yeah.
Natural, right?
Yeah. It's I kept my head mostly shaved.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. It's kind of like cultivating a look, right? Or you just didn't want to.
I just didn't want it to be noticeable.
Yeah.
Was more the thing. I just didn't want it to be as noticeable,
right?
Because it's thin in the crown.
Yeah.
And so the shorter your hair is on the sides, the less noticeable it is up there. Because once it is to the point to where it's really, really noticeable, then it's
Yeah.
all going. Then
Yeah.
it's all going. I'm just gonna keep buzzing my head, and then because I look decent enough with a shaved head or really short hair.
Yeah.
So fortunately, I don't have a weird warped shaped skull, which is something that, like, with dudes, that happens.
Yeah.
Some dudes have weird shaped heads, and then they go bald, and then you're
Yeah.
like, man, that's unfortunate.
It's just a thing that it just experiencing it for me, like from a friend's point of view, very devastating. Now,
Oh yeah.
newsflash, friend ended up marrying pretty much a supermodel because he was beautiful, but he had confidence, and so and because that's how I always felt. It's like, if the women knew who this guy was on the inside and didn't worry about how he looked on the outside. And again, he had a beautiful face. It was just, he was losing his hair, and he ended up, he went bald pretty early. But the thing is that I can imagine, especially for men, if they start to lose their hair in high school. I mean, can that kind of change your self-esteem?
Yeah.
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 Right.
Because dudes don't really want to go bald because it's kind of a thing, like being able to have hair, and like because my hair used to be so thick.
Yeah.
Like thick, and yeah. But it's all right. Because sometimes I'll be like, be looking at myself, and I'll just be like, man, if my hair was as thick as it was when I was like 24,
right?
20, and because it started thinning at like 25, 26.
Does it put like a chip on your shoulder though? Do you think so? Like some women, do you do this like?
No,
I probably
like
yeah.
I'm like I look like what I look like.
Yeah.
And so hair or no hair, it doesn't. I look like what.
Knowing
I look
you,
like.
It's gonna inspire you to, like, tomorrow I'll be like, I shaved my head.
It's yeah. No, I need to. I have been thinking about cutting my hair off, but I'm gonna probably give it another month or so, maybe, because it's
now.
not.
Are you?
It's not terrible.
Ahead, sorry.
It's not unsettling.
No, but you totally.
Hey,
I mean,
hold on. Pause. There is something weird with your audio.
With my audio?
Yeah.
What's it doing?
It's choppy.
Yours is choppy.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Because mine.
Yours sound good to you, and mine. And that's so funny. Yours is choppy, and mine. Well, I can't hear my voice on your end.
It's okay. So yeah, that's
audio
so funny.
Sucks. Are we still paused?
No. No, we're not paused.
Well, you said let's pause, and then I said
no. I was saying, well, by pause, I was meaning like just hold the conversation for a second. Yeah. Is there a refresh button on?
A refresh on mine?
On Zoom? Yeah.
You want me to refresh?
Is there one? I don't know. I was wondering if there was a refresh button.
I can record us.
Like an internet browser type thing.
Oh, I don't know. Let me see. It's a no.
Because I'm
reaction.
I am not a Zoom pro.
Are we still recording? So we have that on recording?
Yeah, we're still recording. I can take it out if.
Remove participant. I can remove you from this chat right now. Okay, no, there's not a refresh.
Okay.
Am I still crackly? Still crackly?
Yeah, you're still crackly.
Do you want me to do my headset in and out?
Try that.
No, I don't need that. No, is that my speaker? How about now? That shouldn't make a difference, did it?
Nope.
Is it no? It's not crackly.
No, it didn't make a difference. The
Is it no, it's crackly, or no, it's not crackly?
I said no, it didn't make a difference. It's crackly.
All right.
Let's see. Okay.